Superbad Vlad, thank you for being here, man. I just got done talking to Wally, and as with Wally, man, since you guys are in the area, man, would love to hopefully have you on as often as possible to just
Oh
talk
yeah.
boxing, the craft, the sport, the good, the bad, the ugly, what's relevant at the moment. But well, first I want to start off right now with what's relevant with you, man. So tell me what's going on in your career. You got a fight coming up, and kind of what you're looking at for the next year or two, and what's the move?
Yeah, man. Been training for a fight December 5th, 2 weeks away. Um, been training hard, putting a lot of rounds in. I don't know if you talked to Wally about how many rounds I did yesterday, but
No, tell me about
I
it.
did 16 straight.
What?
Yeah,
16
yeah.
rounds, and I know you weren't sparring soft, so
No, the two world champions. I mean, well, one of the guys a two-time world champion. The other guy is
dang,
contender, like number 3 in the world, fighting for a title eliminator. So
16 rounds.
16 rounds, yeah.
So you're just oh damn, you're about a week out, like
Yeah.
10 days, something like
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So are you
yeah.
guys gonna start tapering down now?
Yeah. So we're going to work over the weekend. And then like Thanksgiving will probably be like my weekend
Yep.
cuz I'm fighting on a Thursday, right? So,
Gotcha.
yeah, cuz the weigh-ins on Wednesday, which is like kind of confusing. So my week is going to be like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know.
That is yeah. So you got to plan
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah.
And where's the fight again?
It's in Orange County at the hangar in Costa Mesa.
Oh yeah, have you fought there
You know
before?
where they do the OC fair?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it the same promoter?
Roy Engelbrecht?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I fought there one time. It's a real cool venue, and yeah, it's a nice show. It's well produced, and I'm excited to have a good slot and a good opponent, and just gonna go do my
Take care of
thing.
business, handle your
Yeah,
business.
yes, sir.
He's a good, interesting dude. Like he's been promoting in SoCal for a long time. And the funny story is when I was active years ago, um, I don't actually know how this happened, but I got a phone call from one of my cousins. I think I'd had like maybe 10 fights at the time. A phone call from one of my cousins, and they were like, "Yo, fam, I can't wait for you to. You're gonna, I can't wait for the fight. Da 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 da." And they sent me a picture of my face on a billboard,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't even know that I was fighting in SoCal in California. It was I think he
Oh,
was probably calling it OC Fight Club at the time.
you thought it was somewhere else?
I just didn't know anything. All of a sudden,
Uh-huh.
my cousin just says like, "I can't wait to see you fight in Orange County."
Yeah.
So apparently, someone had already committed me to the fight without telling me,
Uh-huh.
to the point where they felt it was okay to invest in putting my face on a billboard.
Uh, that's
And,
crazy.
and so
What a way to find out you're fighting.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so and my dad's he's stubborn. He was my manager, and he should have been. And thank God he was always stubborn. But he was like, "Hey, like, no, we're not gonna like." Just because there was a miscommunication, just go fight, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so to smooth it over, the I don't know. I might have to edit this out, but since we're talking about it, I came down. I think I actually got paid like $5,000 or something to come down, walk into the ring, and pretend I'm injured,
Oh, nice,
and then,
nice.
then sit down and then take some photos and leave because it was
Yeah.
such a big stink and people had bought tickets. I mean, this is like 15 years ago,
Yeah.
but I always respected him because he put on such a good event, and then the way he handled it,
Yeah. That's cool,
because
yeah.
he had every right to be like, be mad at me
yeah,
and screw
yeah.
you guys, and he still just found a way to smooth it over, man. So he's a
Yeah.
solid dude, man. So obviously we only focus on one fight at a time, right? But assuming things all go as planned, like what are your plans for the next 24 months in general, right? Not looking past this, but just in general, even before this fight, what are your plans for the next 24 months?
Yeah, 24 more month plan is definitely win a world title. I mean, I feel like after this year, I'm like right there.
Yep.
And like, sometimes still going back to do these, like smaller, like local shows.
Yep.
Like my manager has to remind me, he's like, hey, like you're like 1 or 2 fights away from a world title. Like, stay locked in. Like,
This could happen
Yeah.
very soon. Yeah.
I mean, since we're talking about it, like I've had offers. Like Top Rank actually wanted me to fight for the WBO in November, and the champion. I mean, you could do the math who the WBO champion is, but he turned it down.
It didn't happen for
Yeah,
some reason.
he didn't want it. He went with someone else, and then he actually ended up getting injured, and they wanted me to be the replacement to fight his opponent. But they ended up going with like using that slot for like a hometown guy.
Yeah.
So, but just to know that like I'm right there, like it's it definitely keeps me focused, and
I think it's incredible because I mean it makes it very clear that you're right there.
Mm-hmm.
If guys are somehow conveniently finding an excuse not to fight you,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel him, man. I'm like, all right, I know who he is. I know who he's been in the ring with in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen enough tape. He's long.
Mm-hmm.
He's athletic. He doesn't have a hard time making weight.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I mess with this
Yeah.
motherfucker?
Yeah.
Like I get that.
Even Wally says like, they'll send us a guy who's like undefeated or like ranked number 1 in the WBA, WBC,
Yeah.
and I'm like, hell yeah, it'll be on a big card, like Terrence Crawford card or something, and I get so excited, and Wally's like, I wouldn't be surprised if they turn it down, because if I'm him and I'm looking at you, I'm like, why am I gonna fight you?
Yeah. Yeah. Why am I
So
gonna risk it? But
it's like good and bad, it's like a blessing and a curse, I guess, because it means I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, so guys don't want to fight,
Yeah.
But I think it's just a matter of time. I think if I keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing and keep knocking these guys out, it's just a matter of time until I get my shot,
Get him out of there. Oh, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
I think not even 24 months. I think within the next 6 to 12 months, I'll, but definitely within 24 months, like it's just gonna be like inevitable at that point,
I'm excited to see it too because I think fighting it's interesting. Sometimes you've seen this. You fought some high level competition. You've also fought some journeymen, and sometimes you fight a journeyman. But sorry, you'll fight the higher level competition, and you'll do better against them than you do a journeyman, and people will never understand that. And it's interesting because it's almost like it allows for you to really shine and show your talent when you're fighting somebody who's on your level.
Yeah.
And that I'm really interested to see that because I've just seen it so many times that
Yeah.
guys, they might go 6-8 rounds with some these different dudes, and then they get in there and get a first or second round knockout with a top level opponent. I really think you're one of those dudes.
Thank you, man.
Would you mind? And I know, like generally speaking, we don't like to talk about what happened in the ring. I'm talking about in the gym for sparring. We don't talk about generally what happened in the ring. But is it okay for you to share some of the people you've been in the ring with, sparring? Right? Just some names, because I think it's important for people to understand that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just got done doing a camp with Tim Zoo. I did a couple weeks in camp with Jean Beck, the unified middleweight champion. So those are recent.
Nice.
Jean Beck, Tim Zoo, Tank, Canelo.
You've been in there with Tank.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I didn't know you've been in there with Canelo.
Yeah, for the Ryan Garcia fight.
Yeah.
And then who else? I mean, a lot of guys at our gym, like Sendy, he's one of Wally's guys. Sergey Lipinets, we work a lot. I've been doing the whole camp with Mean Machine Kaliauskas.
Yeah.
Because he's fighting 2 days after I am.
Nice.
Who else? Sometimes I forget. Like there's
Those
so many guys.
That's a roster right there. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
So tell me, what can you tell me? Especially, I'll use some of the names that I know the general boxing fans know of. Tell me about some just special qualities, right? Of like Zoo, Tank, and Canelo. Special qualities that you're like that. It's hard to see if you're not in the ring with them. Like for instance, like sometimes to me, like I've been in the ring with people and they don't look like much, but it's just like they're physical and they throw me off balance on the inside, and it's just subtle enough to be like, oh, I see why it's hard to work with him on the inside. He just does these little things, or just any like inside like subtleties that surprise you, not without giving intel.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
I mean, with Tank, he's just so like athletic. He's just
Got
like
it.
an acrobat, you know. So like his legs, his movement, he's got great feet. Real twitchy, like fast twitch guy.
Yeah.
His speed, his quickness. You know, because he'll be bouncing around like moving, and then he's on you. You know.
Yeah.
So he's just like a super well-rounded athlete, very intelligent. Tim Zhu, he has like, you know, better defense than you would think, like in close, which is like, you know, the last fight like kind of surprised me because I've seen him be more patient and more cautious with like lesser guys, you know. So I think he went out there thinking he was just gonna steamroll this guy,
Yeah.
and like, I just saw a clip of Corey Stevenson talking to Abdullah Mason after his fight, and he was like, "Hey, you know, I want to give you some advice that's gonna take you to the highest level and keep you there for a long time, you know." And he was basically just telling him, you know, every fighter is dangerous in the first round, you know. So it's like, yeah, at some point you want to move your way in and you want to get these guys out of there, but you also have to be mindful, you know. The first couple of rounds, it's like,
They're training too.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
training too.
yeah.
They're in good shape, you know, and it's like everyone starts out confident. Everyone starts out strong. That's one thing I learned from Floyd. He will always say that, like, everyone starts out strong, especially once you get to a 12-round level, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
you think these guys are coming in there just to lose, you know. It's like nobody wants to lose.
Yeah.
You know, like you literally have to, like, beat it out of them. And, yeah, I mean,
Everyone starts out strong. And
Yeah.
then what about Canelo?
Canelo, yeah, good defense, very
Good defense.
experienced,
Patient.
patient, good pressure. Yeah, just knows how to like bother you without even doing much. Just like
Throw you
his
off.
just his like physical presence, you know. And then it's like he kept like hitting me in the arm, like in the shoulder, you know.
Is it effective?
Because I had my hand here, you know, and I wasn't giving him like a lot of openings, but he kept hitting like my shoulder, and man, for like a week, my shoulder was sore.
It adds up.
Yeah.
'Cause
Oh
I see
yeah.
him doing
for
it in the
sure.
ring all the time, and I'm wondering, is it really bothering them dudes?
Oh yeah. Do you remember Callum Smith's arm?
I didn't see it.
Oh, you never saw it?
Was it bruised,
After they
or-
fought, like it was like huge, man.
Wow.
Cause yeah, like you're hitting muscle, you know, and we were sparring, and like I'm sure he had like 16-ounce gloves on, or
Yeah.
maybe even bigger. But you know, in 10-ounce gloves, you know, it's like
You're feeling it.
that's why like they say like, you know, you hit a guy anywhere in
Yeah.
those small gloves, because what might feel like this when you're sparring, it feels like this in a fight,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, like
So
steel. Bone on bone.
it was funny. Even my girl Taylor, like I taught her how to really curl her wrists and punch with her knuckles.
Yeah.
And she hit my hand, and she hit like the muscle, the meat part of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, ow, you know, that's like painful.
Those subtleties matter, though.
Yeah.
They really do matter.
Like that's things that I've picked up along the way and learned is like, you know, when you're in the gym like daily, constantly, it's like every couple months I'll have like just little epiphanies of like, oh, this is how I can like really get more leverage on this shot, or it's like, oh, this is how you can crank this shot, and if I take this step before I throw this shot, I'll have a little bit more spacing and stuff. So it's like, you know, you find like my friends always make jokes. They're like, you know how to punch in weird ways, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, 'cause sometimes you'll be close and you throw a shot like here or like here, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have like the space, or you know, guys will be moving or in a position where they don't think they're capable of being hit, and if you could still hit them,
Find a
you
way
know,
to get them.
'cause something's always open, you know. And if you're creative enough and you're able to create openings for yourself.
Tell me about this. Last question on like sparring is can you talk about, and some guys talk, and I do believe this, that sparring and fighting is like a great way to develop yourself fast, like to like make leaps, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about somebody, whether it was a fight or sparring, that when you got out of that ring, maybe it was in the moment or the next day, right away, you're just like, yo, like I just got my master's or I just got my PhD. Like I just leveled
Oh
up and
yeah.
I notice it right away.
I would say with Tank it was like that.
Got it.
Cause like I I play chess like pretty regularly for fun,
Yeah.
and I would compare that to like playing like 10-minute games, right? Where like
Quick.
you
Yeah.
have time to think. Cause it's I have 10 minutes and you have 10 minutes, right?
Mm.
So it's like playing these like 10-minute games versus like
Oh, I see.
playing
I see.
a 1-minute bullet game,
Got it.
to where now it's like the processing speed is different, to where it's like, you go from like having time to make decisions to like now it's like boom, 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 boom. As soon as you take your eyes off the board or the screen, like you're screwed, you
Damn.
know? And then I saw a clip of him after his fight with Ryan Garcia, and he was like talking to one of his friends like in the locker room after the fight, and he was like, "No, bro, like he's slow. Like he's so slow. Like you don't get it. He's slow." And like Wally and I talk about that all the time because a guy will have like a really quick hand speed or something, right? But Wally be like, "This guy, he's too slow for you," and he's like, "Do you know what I mean by that? It's like slow.
Thinks too slow.
It's a thinking slow. He's too mentally slow. Like
Not adjusting quick enough.
his pace is too slow. The way that he sets up his shots is too slow. Like it's like
I remember that moment when he
mhm,
said that, and I was
mhm.
like, Ryan Garcia is slow. He's he's got some
Yeah,
of the fastest hands
yeah,
I've ever seen.
yeah.
Period. How could he call him slow? And I was like,
Hmm.
then I was like, maybe he's trying to hype him up or talking because I think he said it in the corner. He
Yeah.
came back to the corner and he's like, nah, he's slow.
No,
But you just explained it, yeah.
it's slow in the sense that like, when you're in there with guys like Tank and stuff, where it's like, even like Sendy, like, oh man, we were sparring so much. Sendy, Sambatar, or he's the guy that hurt Ryan Garcia's rib
Yeah,
before he fought Tank, and him and I both trained with Wally, and Sendy just had a title fight, and
yeah,
like I was like his main sparring partner for his fight because he was fighting like a taller guy.
yeah.
So we would spar literally every day, like Monday through Friday. And like that guy is so quick. It's like sparring like Tank and a prime Lomachenko like every day.
Damn.
Like he's quick. He's got great feet, great athleticism. He's a southpaw, and even though he's smaller, even though he fights at 130, he's like, he's just so skilled. So it's like sparring guys like that on a daily basis, like it definitely like mentally, I'm just like
Sharp.
sharp and quick. It's like because you have to be able to, when you see openings, they're like so small, and you have to be able to capitalize it.
Got it.
And so like, when I go spar bigger guys like middleweights and stuff, I'm just like, oh, this is like so easy, because it's like their size doesn't really like mean much to me because I could use my speed. And like, there's times where I'm fighting guys like my size, or guys that are smaller, where I'm just like, oh, I could just bully them, But then there's also times where I'm fighting bigger guys and I just have to be quicker than them. So it's like I'm able to kind of like switch it up, whatever I
Adjust.
need to do in that moment. Yeah.
So tell me one last technique question, and then we'll talk a little current events. What is would you say the majority of your time in whether it's you or in general at this level, the majority of your opportunities come from like seeing an opening and see something, do something. Like I see the opening and I take advantage of it right away, or it's create the opportunity and then be ready to jam it, hit the land the shot in the opening that you created quickly before it's closed. Is it more 80% creative, creating the opportunities and take it and season them, or see something, do something?
I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of both. The guys that are better, they're not going to give you too much, so you
Yeah,
do have to create. So I would say it is like, you know, it at those levels, it's like you have to create those openings, right? Because it's like a guy's not just gonna let you hit him,
yeah,
So it's like you have to create those openings for yourself, and then be doing something, then knowing they're gonna react to it, and then you'll, it's like
make them poke their head out a little bit.
if if I'm just like looking, waiting for a pull counter, they're probably not going to throw a jab. But if I'm like touching them, then they go to counter jab me, right? Then
Yeah.
I can go boom, boom, boom,
Got it.
right? And then like that's how I'll create more opportunities for like the shots that I want,
Yeah.
you know? Which, you know, Wally's really good at doing is like he's like, okay, these are your strengths, this is what you're good at. Let's create more ways for you to be able to do these things more frequently.
If you're good at this, let's give you 10 or 15 different ways or 12,
Right,
six
to set
to
it
create
up.
that up,
Right,
set it
right.
up.
Yeah.
Talk about Wally for a second as a coach, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
He was just on, and I think he's one of the youngest. If I consider the top trainers, especially if we just consider age, to me he's one of the top, and I think he's going to be. You know, I was just saying when we were talking there. You know, there's always a wave of, oh, this guy's the best trainer, and everybody goes to train with that person, and a year later, this is trainer of the year, and then, and I think, he'll stay true to his crew that he already has, but. And that'll happen, but I feel like we're gonna look up a couple years from now, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, it's Wally time." I see that in him already, and he's young, but he's been at it for so long.
Yeah.
And he's a sponge and a scientist with the sport and a historian and so on and so forth. Just a little glimpse of what it's like training with him. Why you like working with him?
Oh man, it's great. I mean, he can be kind of a dickhead sometimes, but but no, I think
Yeah, he said he has no filter.
Yeah, like 16 rounds at the end of the week. I wouldn't say like I came to the gym like, yeah, let me, know. But it's like, but I sometimes you need that push to know that you can do it. It's like mentally,
Yep.
And it's like, if I spar like 10 rounds and he doesn't like the way I finish, he's like, no, fuck that. You're going to do another one. Because you're not going to finish like that. You're not mentally going to go home knowing like, oh, I ended the session like that, And then it's like I do another round and I come up with all this energy. And then it's like mentally I go home and I'm like, oh, like I feel way better about, how I finished, you know? No, Wally's great, man. I mean, before him and I started working, in 13 fights, I only had like 5 knockouts. And I, like, these were fights where, like, I would hurt all these guys, I would either put them down or, like, hurt them or, like, be on the verge of, like, stopping them. And then I just, like, couldn't get across the other line.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then I started training with Wally, and we have, like, 8 or 9 fights together now, and all but one of them has been a knockout.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like, out of my last 8 fights, 7 of them are knockouts, and the only one that went the distance was a 10-round title fight where, like, I just beat the guy up for 10 rounds.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, Wally's time is coming. I mean, just the stable that we have right now, like, the guys that we train with on a daily basis, it's like, we got me, like, WBA Continental Champion, contender. We got Sendy, who also just won a WBA title.
Yeah.
Also contender, or he's gonna be fighting for a title in like 1 or 2 fights as well.
Yeah.
2-time Olympian, by the way.
I don't know.
His only losses in the Olympians are to like Shakur and like the guy that took gold, and they like robbed him. Yeah.
And he probably won. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got Sotny, who's a Ukrainian Olympian heavyweight, future world champ. We got Goog, an Armenian Olympian heavyweight, future world champ.
Yeah. He's a monster.
Yeah.
I watch him sometime and I'm like, I see what this is.
Sergey Lipinets, 2-time world champ, Hamza's in the gym, who's about to fight for a world title, so it's like,
it's a good atmosphere.
We have guys that are vets that have been there, that know what it takes. We have guys on the way up, and like we also have guys that are like there currently,
Right now.
So I think it's like there's like no better environment I would want to be in, And we also it's also like Wally's the guy leading us, and he's young and he's still like eager to prove himself.
Yeah.
It's not like and this isn't to throw shade or anything at like like someone like Freddie Roach or something, but it's like, guys that have already been there that have, it's like they don't have to prove anything,
That's
it's
true.
like their legacy is cemented, and it's like Wally's like, he's also got an ego. He's also like a young guy, like wanting to like establish himself as like one of the best trainers,
Yeah.
And so if you look at our stable, like two of us just won like minor continental titles,
Yeah.
like next year we'll probably both be winning like world titles,
Yeah.
So it's like I think in the next few years, like Wally definitely like establish himself because, the more successful we are, it's like, he can't be trainer of the year if we aren't like,
Doing your thing.
yeah. So
And he seems to understand the craft, of course, the management technique. I mean, matchmaking. There's an art to that too. All right, so I want to jump into some current events real quick while I got you. First, I gotta ask, and I'm asking everybody, reaction to last week, Tyson versus Paul.
it was kind of sad. I mean, I I I kind of expected, Tyson being like close to 60 years old. Is
Yeah.
like, I thought he would have like one or two good rounds in him. I thought the longer it went, like, like
It's gonna
youth
be tough.
at some point is just gonna take over, And I mean, I think Jake did his thing. Like he played it smart and, didn't give Tyson a lot of opportunities. I'm not one of those people that think like, like all of Jake's Paul's fights are fixed and
I
stuff.
actually don't either.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think he's good. I think he's for how little time he's had in the sport. It's like if you're doing things at a professional level, if you're working hard at a professional level, if you're training with professional level guys, it's like
At some point.
yeah. At some point, it's like he's probably definitely like ahead of the curve in terms of like, guys that have like a 10-year amateur career.
Yeah.
Their first fight is like, 8 years old and they turn pro at 18. And then it's like, even their first 10 pro fights, they're fighting like idiots, And like even Terrence Carver, his first 10 pro fights were 4-rounders.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And like Jake, probably like 5 fights in, he was already fighting like 10-rounders or 8-rounders,
Yeah.
Which is like just to be able to spar that many rounds is like hard, Like I remember being at like a 6-round level for like a couple years, and it took a while to like even get to that like 8-10 round level,
Yeah.
So he's definitely putting a lot of time into it, and just being a student of the game and stuff. And I think, like he's fighting the same type of like journeyman that like a fresh pro boxer, like someone
It's
who
the
just
same
turned
level
pro.
of competition.
Yeah, but like they're just like bigger names, and like he's
Yeah.
more in the spotlight and stuff. So I think, if you let a guy develop, like, him at 20 pro fights, like he might be able to beat a contender, like fight for like a world title, It's like I'm not gonna put it against him.
So yeah, so with Jake Paul, I think it's a testament to like, I mean, I think the blind sides, people think he's not a real boxer. Number one, he always says 3 years, but this is 3 years that he's been actively fighting. But he's been training for more than that, at least 5. I know of. I think maybe even more. He has a background as a wrestler, so he has a base of footwork and so on and so forth, and understanding how to deal with somebody one-on-one. He's had access to the best supplementation training, a bunch of great, knowledgeable trainers he's worked with.
Yeah.
And brought in different heads, different minds. The best sparring you can ask for a developing fighter, and being able to pay them and have them come train with him on his schedule, and then gets to walk into the ring as I'm the man, I'm the champ, because he's the draw, and 100% of his fight experience has been with the world watching at the highest level. So I think, that's part of the hardest part of going pro is like getting used to that.
Yeah.
That was his day one, so I do think it's possible for someone to develop that quickly. I would like to see him fight somebody now, just because I'm curious as a fan of his.
Yeah.
I can admit to being a fan because it's cool what he's doing. I have my critiques, but I'm a fan.
Yeah.
What's your what's your opinion of him as a boxer, and what do you think is the next? What does he need to show next, or what would you like to see next? I don't think he needs to show anybody anything. He could just go back to YouTube if he wants.
Well, I think he's proven that, he's got good athleticism. He's got good power. You know, he's a good strong puncher. He's got a bit of boxing ability. I think at the higher level, it's like as the rounds go on, are you able to make adjustments? Are you able to keep that same pace?
Yeah.
Are you not slowing down? Are you actually picking up as the pace goes? You
Yeah.
know, it's like, um, you know, it's like the fight with him and like Nate Diaz. You know, he hurts him early, like puts him down, but he lets him hang around for 10 rounds, and then it's like the longer the fight goes, and like Nate's kind of like picking up
Yeah, it's
steam
starting to get
as
comfortable.
Jake is going down, and like I think he'll learn um, that just being strong, just being a good puncher, is kind of like not enough at the highest level. You have to be doing things to break guys down, and like that's what I had to learn.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like training with Wally is that like you have to be doing things as the rounds go to separate yourself. You have to be going to the body. You have to know when to push guys back, when to box them. You know, you have to know when to box. You have to know when to fight them.
Yeah.
You know, and
And when to back off too.
yeah. And I think, you know, he has like bits and pieces of that, but it's just gonna come to like, you know, him putting it all together. And I think his new trainer, like I've been seeing them work more like on like inside stuff,
Yeah.
and that's another huge thing is like knowing how to fight in all the distances, right? So there's like long range, long distance, and there's like mid distance, and there's like close distance, you know?
Yeah.
And we've seen guys get exposed, guys that can only fight like in one distance, you know, guys that can only fight long range and box.
Yeah.
And when they get in with a guy who's a pressure guy and they're constantly staying on top of him,
They can't use their
you know,
tools.
or like guys that have to be close to be effective, right? And they have like no like long range boxing ability,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, it's just like mastering all the distances, you know, understanding like pace, you know, maintaining your volume or picking it up as the rounds go and stuff.
Yeah.
Cause, yeah, you know, everyone starts out strong. You know, it's like if I'm an experienced guy and I'm looking at him, I'm saying, okay, he's a strong guy. He's a good puncher. You know, he'll probably be dangerous for the first couple rounds.
Yeah.
But if we have 10 rounds, if we have 12 rounds, I'm gonna just, you know, take my time first couple rounds, not give him much, and then, you know, like round 3, round 4, start taking it to him, start picking it up, start banging his body, you know, and then like take advantage of that lack of experience, right? Because like the experience pays off like in those later rounds, you know, like it's like the longer the fight goes, like the better it should get for me.
Yeah.
You know, and like some guys start strong and they're able to maintain it. You know, it's like having like that staying power, like Paulie Malignaggi has.
Yeah.
You know, being able to stay in a tough fight. Even like Terrence Crawford's last fight with Madrimov. You know, some fights it's really not until like the last 2 or 3 rounds where you get that separation, where it's like
That's what the level of
a
competition
guy
is like.
will be strong for 10 rounds, and then it's like it comes down to those last 2 rounds. You know, it's like, you know, like Earl Spence and like Sean Porter. You know, it's like I think of those moments where it's like you really gotta just dig deep and like grind out those last couple of rounds. You know, because it's like sometimes like it just comes down to that.
You know, I was talking to my dad. He would, I listened to him over the years as my coach, and he would talk a lot about like, you know, I used to be like this, but when I finally committed to being a 12-round fighter, then I started training like this, and da. And he kept always saying I'm a 12-round fighter, and he always wanted to be a 12-round fighter, and he'd always talk about that. And I just it didn't really register. And finally, I kept picking and asking questions, and finally, and there was multiple things, the way you train and the mindset and all that. But the one defining quality of a 12-round fighter from him that I finally picked up that like what he was really talking about is, and he said one day, he said, man, when we get to round 10, I'm not going to be the only one tired. Like I'm not just going to be tired, and that man's fresh. And I realized what he was saying is one of his number one goals, because he was like, I'm not going to have to rely on at 45. He doesn't want to have to rely on that one punch knockout power, because the punch might not get there. He's 79 fights in, there's so much tape on him,
Yeah.
like sparring partners that have gone and told, and he's like, I can't rely on that. I need to be able to win this fight if it goes 12 rounds. So he said his thing was to make sure that he completely gassed the guy by 9 or 10 before he started to open up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he would say like,
You see what happened with Michael Moore,
yeah.
It's like he's losing the early rounds. The younger guy gets to jump on him, and then it's like his experience takes over. You know?
So, all right. And he would talk about the bull and the matador and just like, like you said, the body shots. And as they get more aggressive, he would say like, as a guy gets more aggressive, go to the body because he believes that if you crack him to the body, if they throw 10 punches and they lose, let's just say 10% of their energy. If you hit them to the body and they throw 10 punches, they're losing 15 to 20% of their energy. It's like they're bleeding more. That's the way he thinks about it. And the more I've been banging around, especially in the gym, I'm starting to think it's true. Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
They exhaust themselves quicker, huh?
100%. Yeah, it's like, you could take a couple headshots and you could just shake those off. But it's like, even one good body shot, it's like that like stays with you for a little bit longer. And especially like over the course of a fight. It's like you can get hit with a shot and still feel it 4 rounds later.
Yeah.
But that's only with a body shot. That's not really like with a headshot.
Yeah, you might.
Maybe it's like if your eye swells up or something, I guess. But like, especially like, guy like your dad hitting you to the body. It's like,
and it's being there.
Your ribs are sore. Now it's like your movement is like, now just to slip a shot hurts.
Yeah. So
it's like you're breaking them down. Their punches have less steam on them. And now it's like the guy can't even get out of the way of shots because, to crunch down, like that's hurting his rib now.
Yeah.
So it's like, over a 12-round fight. I mean, look at when Meldrick Taylor fought Chavez. Winning the rounds, clearly up on the scorecards. It wasn't until the last 5 seconds of the fight, and it's like
he started to fade.
Yeah, and it's like Wally and I, like, we always look at the fight in terms of like time, not really like rounds.
Yeah,
and it's like I know, like, you go out, a new round starts, it's like a new little mini fight, but at the same time, it's like, because guys are gonna come out and like be like a little fresher, like at the beginning of the round, but it's like it's still time. You have 36 minutes, to break a guy down.
It's a long time.
It's like some guys, it's like, okay, 15 minutes is enough to get this guy out of here, But it's like some guys are going to take more work. It's going to take more time, Like, when Floyd fought Conor McGregor, I think he stopped him in like the 27th or the 28th minute. It was round 10. And Conor's used to doing 5-minute rounds, so he's used to 25 minutes. He's used to fighting for 25 minutes, right?
You knew at some point
and he gets stopped at minute 27. You know, so it's like just those little things, yeah. And it was funny. My friend made like a lot of money off of that because he bet on like the specific minute.
Really?
He bet like minute like 27, 28, 29
was when he was gonna.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny. I wish I had known how to bet around that, but I said the same thing. I'm like, at best, he's a 6-round fighter.
Yeah.
So, like, I just don't see how he's going to be able to deal with Floyd, who we know he can be in the ring for 20 rounds if he needs to or more.
Yeah.
So let's quick question for you about so now Paul, and then we'll move on to, I want to talk about Anthony Joshua. But what do you think is next for him? What should be next for him for some excitement?
I saw like Andre Ward calling him out, and he's like, "Oh, since he like fighting older guys."
Yeah.
But I don't think, even at like the end of Andre Ward's career, I think that he clearly takes that over Jake. For Jake, trying to think like what would be a good test for him at this point in his career. Maybe a guy with like 15 fights, a guy who's like, 15-0 or something as a pro.
Amateur career.
Yeah, some amateur fights and stuff. Like, I think there's some prospects that like he could beat. It also depends on the weight, their age, the youth. It's like you can't keep fighting. Like, I respect what he's doing, but you also can't keep fighting guys that are older and smaller than you. And it's like, okay, find a weight class to compete in, make the weight, be disciplined enough to make the weight, fight a guy relatively the same size as you, the same age as you, you know, and I think if he was up against another guy with like a similar record than him, I think he could beat him.
Yeah.
Um, like a top 50 guy or something.
Got it.
Maybe not like a top 20 guy yet.
It's probably not fair to him in his development
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah,
Like he's still
yeah,
got to develop.
yeah. He's still got time. I mean, how many pro rounds does he really have under his belt? If like most of his fights are like, like first few round knockouts.
Yeah.
Because like a guy might have like 10 fights, right? But it's like if all those guys' fights are like first round knockouts, he doesn't even have 10 rounds of experience.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes it is worth to go the rounds, and I think he's got a good amount of rounds in him. So yeah, it just depends on the weight class and like because if he's coming in at like 220 something, but then 175 is like better be of.
Yeah.
It's like, are you gonna fight at 168, 175, cruiserweight?
I'd like to see that fight though. Him and Better Just
Yeah.
let him come in at 240 and Better Biev at 175.
Yeah,
just to
right.
create some sort of competitiveness out of it. But
what's funny? I was watching some of Holyfield's fights at cruiserweight when he fought like Kawi. Is that how you say his name? Dwight Cowie?
Yeah, Dwight Kwawi. Yeah.
Kwawi, yeah.
That was a good fight.
Yeah, it was a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
But Holyfield was a cruiserweight coming in at 186. And I'm like,
wow.
Man,
Holyfield, that's what he was doing?
that's like a super middleweight nowadays,
I
Because
didn't know.
if you're 186, you're cutting down to like 68 or 60 even, Like Charlo was making 160 coming in at 186,
Holyfield was that small?
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
yeah.
And then he moved up to heavyweight. Good
And then he
God.
moved up to heavyweight. Isn't that crazy?
Yep. He's something else. My dad,
Yeah.
he said when he fought him, he was just so. The hard part is he would just recover so fast. He was like, I could crack him and I could hurt him, but then he's like, I knew when I hurt somebody, I had a good like 7-8 seconds to keep him hurt and then get him out of there. And he's like, the dude would just recover. I think he was in such good condition, but how they built him up to a heavyweight.
Yeah.
And kept his muscle mass, had him growing while conditioning like that is nuts.
Yeah.
It's really nuts, man. So tell me, Joshua, what do you think he should be doing now?
Anthony Joshua?
Yeah.
I mean, I think as a heavyweight, like, you can always have an opportunity to make, like, good money even, like, later into your career. Because you could say, like, at this point, like, he's towards the end of his career. He's a little bit older now.
Yeah.
But as a heavyweight, I feel like you can still compete at that level even at, like, 40 years old.
That's true.
Even into your 40s, because it's like your power is something that's never going to leave. And it's not like heavyweights fight at, like, the fastest pace anyways, This isn't like, like 130-pounders fighting at 40. It's like these are heavyweights, so it might only take one shot, you know? So I think if he has, like, 5 more fights, I would say just max out your earnings. Like, get a fight with Tyson Fury, get a fight with Deontay.
Do you think he should do the rematch with Dubois?
Yeah, I don't know, because Dubois is a big puncher, and you could tell at the beginning of that fight, like, AJ was kind of just, like, a little lackadaisical, like, all right, this is, like, you can never, like, think shit is sweet. You can never think that just because you're more accomplished than a guy that, like, he's going to look at it that way, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like he's looking at you, like, up there, like, ready to climb that mountain, And he's probably looking at him down there, like, yeah.
I get the feeling when I watch the fight, we'll move on, but I get the feeling when I watch the fight, he was kind of like, I actually think he's very in touch with his wealth and where he's at and what he's accomplished, and that he was like, you know what, let me just have some fun and just go for it, and if I get knocked out, so be it, which is crazy to think. Like, I can't imagine myself ever thinking like that.
Yeah.
Like, to me, if my version of that would be like, let's just get through this fight and get home and get the fuck out, so get out of here.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was like, after getting knocked down a couple times, just leading with wild uppercuts, leading with right hands, like, I've never actually seen that at that level. So maybe it's just like, fuck it.
3 right hands in a row, no jab, no nothing to set
no
it
jab.
up. Like, just straight right hand uppercut. Like,
after already being knocked down.
yeah, that was kind of crazy.
And I know he's not crazy, and I know he knows better, so I think he had to do it on purpose. But I'm not
Yeah,
criticizing. I'm just like sitting back, like, wow.
yeah.
Do you and then lastly on the heavyweight division, who do you like? Forget like Tyson, Fury, and Usyk. Usyk won the fight.
Yeah.
I think you could argue decisively. I actually in the moment felt it was Tyson, Fury, but without thinking who won that one, who won this one, and so on and so forth. Just rate your top 5 heavyweight boxers right now.
Top 5 right now. Okay. Usyk's got to be number 1.
Okay, he's earned that.
And then we'll say Tyson Fury for now still. But there's some guys coming up, man, that I really like. Like Bacoli, who just knocked out Jared Anderson.
God.
He came to our gym the week of the fight, and
Oh, that's right. It was out here.
he was cracking the bag, and I was like, because I had never heard of Bacoli before. And then I started looking at like, oh, he just ran through Takam like that,
Yeah,
you know? And then
that hurt my heart, man. We managed him.
I know.
That broke my heart.
I know. But a guy that is that big, that hits that hard, that has the habits that he does in terms of like digging the body, ripping the liver, you know,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Just like he has great strategy and he has great like intangible strength.
Yep.
And I think some of those like African guys, like they just have like different bone density or something.
There's something. Yeah.
It's like,
he
man, because
doesn't even look like Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
He has a belly, but he's in
Yeah.
shape.
Because I'm telling you, man, like the way the bag sounded when he was like ripping it like in the gym, I was like, oof, like
You could tell it
I
was
don't think
different.
Jared Anderson. Yeah. So, and I think he's fighting that guy, Caballo, who stopped that one Russian guy. But I think Bacoli, he's on the way up. Goog, our guy.
Yeah,
And I'm not just saying it because he's our guy, but like just seeing him spar like on a daily basis and like what he's able to do.
he's got the goods.
You know, a guy who's 6'9", who's like 300 pounds, who can move the way he does, who can punch the way he punches.
Yeah. He's 6'9".
Yeah, he's big.
Good
Man.
God. Good
He's
luck
big.
dealing with that.
And that's the thing too is like, you know, you look at like the history of the heavyweight division back in the day. It was like Rocky Marciano, like 180 pounds, like 5'9" or something. You know, it's
Yeah.
like,
It's a
and
different
now we
beast.
got guys that are like a foot bigger, like 150 pounds heavier.
It's nuts.
Oh man,
And can move.
and can move. You know,
Yo, I want to get your top 5 of all time, and I want to hear your top 5 in the welterweight division because you're still fighting at welterweight, right? Yeah. But before that, just can we talk about the Jared Anderson fight for a moment? I felt bad because I feel like that they rushed him. Jared didn't
Yeah.
deserve to. That just wasn't the next step up for him, and I think he has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And I think he can be a champion. But I feel like I don't feel like he's had the chance to develop the ring maturity just to deal with the moment yet.
Yeah.
To throw him in with a killer, and
yeah,
I knew he was a killer, Bercoli. I knew he was a killer before he fought Takam, and because I saw him fight, what's his name? The hunter, bounty hunter.
Oh, Michael Hunter.
I saw
Yeah.
that, and the way
Yeah.
he just kept running through punches and
Yeah.
dealing with it. And I saw some other fight he fought, and I'm
That
like,
was like the one fight he lost, but what happened? Like it was.
the way he was just taking shots and walking through them,
Yeah.
and was in condition. And I was like, he can punch hard. He
Yeah.
can take a shot, and he's gonna be there. And he's got a good jab. Like, who wants to deal with that?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, why would they put Jared in with that? And then they switch trainers, and I'm like, when you switch trainers, you should at least have one fight with the guy
Yeah.
that's not one of the best fighters in the world, the hardest punchers.
Yeah.
And then I watched the fight, and Bercoli was funny. I was like, wow, I actually, it was funny. Like you see, anyway, I saw a lot of things he was doing that reminded me of my father right away.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I'm just saying that because he's my dad. And then he, in the quote, in an article says, I decided this fight I wanted to fight like George Foreman,
Oh.
which is funny. And he said he was quoted saying that a couple of times. He's from the Congo, Democratic Republic of
Yeah.
Congo. But last month, Jared Anderson was fighting hard. She was game. Did not tie
Yeah.
up and hold one time.
Yeah.
How do you let a guy get to that level in boxing and no one's taught him how to hold against a puncher. Just hold or
Yeah.
survive, or like punch him below the belt, do something. But don't just
Yeah.
keep throwing and hitting a guy that is not afraid of your power.
Cause
I was baffled by that, and I know he had a great coach in his corner, and maybe
yeah.
he wasn't listening. I don't know. That
Hmm.
was bizarre to me. What from a management standpoint and tactical standpoint, how would you? What were your beefs with that one?
Well, tactically, like you said, I just remember watching that fight, and he was just like hanging out in front of him at like mid distance, like punching range, you
Yeah,
know. And it's like you either gotta box him or you gotta tie up and like be all the way in his chest,
yeah,
you know. And like Bacoli's a bigger, longer guy, so it's like maybe you can't box him, you can't get out of the way.
yeah.
Um, but I think Jared Anderson like could have used more of his speed. Maybe he just couldn't get out of the way of the shots because he was already hurt from the first round.
Yeah.
Um, but like yeah, from like a management position, I don't think you take that fight right then and there because like he had only had what like 13, 14 fights at that point.
Some like maybe 16, but not
Yeah,
nothing at that
yeah,
level, you know.
yeah, and
Or he's that type of animal.
yeah, yeah.
Who's so welterweight division, top 5 active right now?
Top 5 active
Give me 5 real quick,
welterweights.
or whatever comes to your mind right now.
I mean, I think Boots is like the most complex guy in terms of, what he's able to do. Being able to switch, good puncher, good boxer, good shape, durable, strong. Outside of him, if I'm looking at these guys, like I don't know.
No,
I mean,
not, but
oh,
remove yourself from it. I know
remove
you're looking at
myself.
it like, who can I
Okay.
beat?
Oh,
We
okay.
know that, but just like as a fan, just the people like if someone said,
Uh huh.
"Hey, this is Sports Illustrated
Uh
magazine,
huh.
you're contributing."
Yeah. Yeah.
I see the competitor and you doesn't want to
Okay.
give
Okay.
anybody any credit, but
Well, I'm
but
just
if we
yeah.
said put a gun to your head and said top 5, you got to name. How would you rank them?
Top 5 excluding myself.
Remove yourself from it.
I say Boots is one.
Yeah, or even in no order,
Uh,
just like deserve to be mentioned and discussed.
yeah, I would say Boots. Barrios, even though he gets beat up like every fight, even the fights he wins, man, I'm just like,
He always gets beat up. I did notice that.
yeah, it's bad defense.
You know what? I can see you don't want to answer this question, so we're gonna move on. But let's just talk, and because I'm not gonna ask you to do that because you're a competitor.
Yeah.
But he Barrios, it is. I like him. I
Uh-huh.
like his character, and I like how he fights hard. But I always scratch myself and understand why do they keep putting this guy in big fights on the biggest stages? Like, how does he keep doing that? Because what he's doing doesn't seem to be that spectacular.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to be winning in spectacular. There's not that much special.
Yeah.
Is he a great fighter? Does he need to be at that level? But I'm like, there's other guys that should have been here. And I'm not
Yeah.
criticizing. I'm just saying as a fan, I always ask that question. And
Management.
good management. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last top 5 welterweights of all time. Any era.
All time, you got to put Sugar Ray up there. Oh,
Rank 'em.
Ray Robinson. Yeah,
Ray Robinson.
I would say Ray Robinson number 1 because he never lost at welterweight. Remember, he was remembered as a middleweight.
Oh, that's right.
At welterweight, it's crazy because there's like no film of him at welterweight. Like
Barely nothing.
all the film is like him at middleweight towards like the second half of his career.
Yeah.
It's like imagine if like there was no footage of like Roberto Duran before he was like a welterweight or something.
Yeah. What's
It's
the
like
point?
at lightweight if that just didn't exist.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
If you can't.
yeah. So in
All right,
terms
Ray.
of welterweights, I gotta put Ray Robinson number 1.
Okay, number 2.
Number 2,
Just what you're feeling right now.
I'll say Ray Leonard, yeah. And then Tommy Hearns, you gotta put him up there too. Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. On the basis of what?
In terms of rank or what?
Just why I'm just curious. I mean, the other guys, it's like
IQ, defense.
the things that you appreciate about them.
Yeah, I think IQ,
And
defense. Not like the most fearsome, explosive like puncher, but I think to be able to sustain success for like 2 decades, spanning like 3 different generations of fighters. He fought guys in the 90s, he fought the guys in the 2000s, 2010s, And then I'll put Manny Pacquiao top 5 too.
Manny. All right, cool.
Because, at 40 years old, he beat Keith Thurman undefeated.
That's right.
You know?
What happened to Keith?
Well, his last fight, he fought Barrios. Remember?
I missed that.
He beat up Barrios.
But what's he doing now? Like, is he active or he's been quiet? I just haven't seen him that much.
I think it's just, like, tough being, like, a PBC guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Especially being, like...
Not a lot of dates and stuff anymore.
Especially being, like, the last generation. It's like all those guys either... Because remember, they had all the welterweights.
Yeah.
You know? Which, like... It sucks that, like, I wasn't a contender back then because it's like...
It was an active time, too.
I think Earl Spence, like, he was able to do so much in, like, such a little amount of time because he had all the guys, he had all the names, right?
On
so
the
it's
right,
like
on PBC.
he gets to beat Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, PBC had all the welterweights at one point. Ugas,
Errol Spence, is that a fight you want?
I would love that
I haven't
fight.
even thought about it. Yeah.
I would love that fight. I would move up to 54 for that. Yeah. But I think he's got like probably one more fight in him and then he retires.
Yeah, he'll be out of there.
Because I think he's made enough money, and that's like the tough part of being in my position is like, they're looking at a young hungry lion.
Yeah.
And even Terrence Crawford, he said like he just wants like big fights now.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to fight Boots or. I'm not saying like he's ducking Boots, but it's like,
what's the win?
Why fight this guy for this much where I can fight this guy for the same, if not more?
Do you think it made sense that last matchup he had? Did that one make sense to you?
Madrimov?
Yeah.
I think it made sense in the sense that
but
he was able to win another world title at another weight class.
Yeah.
But even Crawford, as great as he is, like, I'm looking at 154, like, can he go undisputed at 54? Like,
you gotta deal with some big dudes.
Yeah. Those guys are killers up there,
All right, then greatest boxers of all time, top 5, period.
Top 5 greatest boxers of all time.
Across any weight class.
Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, Roberto Duran, Floyd Mayweather, and Sugar Ray Leonard.
Okay, hold on. Are you putting, just to be clear, are you putting Muhammad Ali above Sugar Ray Robinson? Just asking. I'm not challenging you.
I would love to know like more about Sugar Ray Robinson.
Yeah.
Because he was the guy that came before Ali. That's like who Ali looked up to, and you don't have the next guy before the guy before. Yeah. Because if you're gonna fight across different weight classes, like I would put Ray Robinson at number 1.
Okay.
Ali at number 2.
And then why for Ali?
Why? Just
the reason I ask is I hear a lot of different things. You know what I mean? When I ask people why, for Floyd, I hear different things.
If we're talking about just boxing, like his skill set is unmatched. Like at heavyweight, to be able to move and float like that, and
be able to seen that.
Like to be able to knock guys out like while like actively moving backwards.
Yeah.
It's like when he knocked out Sonny Liston, like when he fought Cleveland Williams, it's like, oh man, it's like
sorry,
he was always like, feigning, hitting you, and it's just like he's able to hit you while moving and doing so many different things. It's like you think of like most guys that are big punchers, it's like they have to be set to punch, and like it was interesting. I was watching this docuseries of and LeBron was talking about like these younger guys like Zion Williamson and stuff.
Yeah.
And he said going up against like young, strong, athletic guys like that, like, they're such beasts, like you can only hope to contain them, but his like I could see like a glimpse of LeBron's brain, and he was saying like, guys like that, like you just got to keep them off balance and beat them like with speed and pace.
Yeah.
And I thought like that's so interesting because you know, that's almost like me when I'm fighting these like stronger guys that are like big punchers. It's like I was like, yeah, I mean, if you just keep them off balance, then
They can't.
they
They can't
can't
sit
they
down. Yeah.
can't punch, like,
Yeah.
right? Like you have them looking silly,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like anyone can look like a monster on a heavy bag, but you know, you give them a moving target. That's why I think Ali was so great, because it's like you can't hit him, and then but also like world class chin. I mean, like, you know, taking shots from your dad, like
Yeah.
Joe Frazier, you know, and it's like
Finding a way to win.
finding a way to win, like, you know, 15-round fights back then
Yeah.
too.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Man, well, a couple more questions and I'll let you get out of here, man.
Mhm.
Tell me about just who's a prospect that people probably, you named a lot of prospects or people who are champions that maybe don't have the biggest high profile name yet, but who's like a young prospect that you're like, maybe he doesn't have a belt yet, not in the top
Mhm.
10, but you're like, this dude has the goods. I've been in the round, been in the ring
Mhm.
with him, whether or not you
Uh-huh.
dominated him or not. You're just like, I see this guy coming, and people need to watch out
Mhm.
for him. Who is that? Who is that young?
Um well, Sendy's one guy that like I've been in the ring with, definitely.
Yeah, you
He's
mentioned
one of
him.
those guys. But uh, prospects that I like that are on my radar that I haven't been in the ring with, but I could just like see it in them is I really like Abdullah Mason. His last fight, like, you know, answered a lot of questions too, because he got dropped twice. He got dropped, then he dropped the guy, then he got dropped again, and the
Yeah,
very next round he finished the guy.
you learn a lot about somebody
Yeah,
when you see that.
I really like Carmel.
Hmm.
I was able to watch him spar when I was in Vegas sparring Tim Zoo,
Yeah,
uh, and like, you know, that was a kid like I fought at the Pals in Oxnard like maybe like 2016.
yeah,
It was like an amateur national tournament, and I think he was only like 8 years old at the time. That was like the first time I ever seen him, and he was like this tall, and like he didn't even have a fight that day. I think he had like a bye, and he was just working out with his dad in the back, and like you could just tell like when someone's like special, you
yeah.
know. Um, Another kid I feel that way about is we actually have the same manager now, Steven Navarro.
Uh huh.
He's special, like, you know, can switch stances, uh, can fight either way, like inside outside, lefty, orthodox. Um, who else? One more. Trying to think prospects. I don't know.
You know, it's funny when you mentioned Carmel. What's a guy from New Orleans? Oh, I'm not forgetting his name now. He's close to your weight class, 140 ish. Braids. He trained at what's the name of that gym in Santa Monica? Uh, Churchill for a long time.
Who?
He's from New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Fought in the UK. Kind of. Um,
Jalen?
no. What is his name? He looks like mixed race. Deep New Orleans accent. You know what I'm talking about. Wow, I'm just drawing.
Scrappy?
No, but he was around then.
Or,
He's
trained
not,
at
he's no
Churchill?
longer at Churchill anymore. He's out in Houston now, I think, training.
Oh man.
Oh, come on. You know him. He just fought in the UK recently. I'm just drawing a blank. Hold on. He fought
How many fights does he have now?
a lot. Had a couple titles. Um, he just lost a fight recently. He was talking, selling a lot of wolf tickets. Why am I forgetting his name?
Shit.
Like light complected braids. Like I think he's a southpaw, and he just like kind of sits there and slips and bangs. What's his name?
No clue.
This is gonna bug me. Hold on, just give me a second. Hold on. New Orleans boxer
I don't know anybody from New Orleans.
champion. You might not even know he's from New Orleans because he. Oh, Regis Prograis.
Oh, okay. I sparred him, yeah.
Oh, what was that like?
It was good. It was good. Good experience.
He so when I was training amateurs in like 2008, 2009, I saw him at a show. He's just sitting in the corner. I don't even remember watching him box, but same thing. He was just sitting there shadow boxing. And I remember like, why isn't he moving his feet? He's just sitting there boom boom for like minutes. but I remember seeing something special about him,
Yeah.
and he was trained by a guy named Willie Savannah because I think he came
Yeah.
over for the hurricane,
Uh-huh.
and I sure enough, and then I started seeing him on TV. I'm like, yo, that's the same dude, like.
Uh-huh.
But I remember like you can see a quality in a young man
Yeah.
sometime, and it's just like that
Yeah.
dude's gonna go somewhere. Um, so uh, so so that's kind of it, man. I think what the one thing I want to end on is just kind of like why are you why do you love boxing so much? Because what I've learned about you is you're really intelligent,
Thanks, man.
college educated, deep, cerebral. It sounds like you could be successful at a number of different things. You seem to have interest in things outside of boxing, and and you're definitely a craftsman. But what's and I don't know that your parents wanted you to box, you know,
Yeah.
and you always
No,
you just
definitely not.
you had a lot of you could have done a lot of things, but you chose to do it the hard way and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. Why has this sport attracted you? And I'm glad it did because you're about to make have a moment.
Thank you, man. Well, like, why did I pick boxing or what?
What made you say, you know what, I'm putting all my guns into being the best welterweight in the world?
Um,
Because you had options. That's my point.
yeah, I think I've always just had like a deep appreciation and like love for the sport.
Yeah,
And I always wanted to compete, even like before I fought. I just wanted to compete because, I'm competitive. It's like whether I'm playing a basketball game, whatever it is, it's like I have this like competitive streak in me that, um, you know, people don't always like see inside me. I think like on the surface, I just look like, like a nice kid, but
you're the most chill person I know. Yeah,
yeah, but it's like, I like that competition. It's like, it gets me going. And I just remember being in college and like at first I was like pre-med and then I jumped around majors and I was like, because at first it was like, oh, it's
the
like,
reason I don't know a lot of boxers that like
mhm.
started pre med,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
like before we got started, you were talking about day trading and
yeah,
like
yeah,
currencies and all that. Like I don't you don't
yeah,
hear that from a lot of
yeah,
active,
yeah,
top ranked boxers. But the
yeah. I think when I was in school, before I figured out what I wanted to do, I was like, what's the highest starting salary? And I was like, okay, anesthesiologist or something,
yeah
and then it's like, I took a couple semesters of chemistry and I was like, I don't really like connect with this. Like,
yeah
and, I've always been creative. I've always like, I grew up like playing music and stuff.
yeah
And, I have friends like in film and stuff. Like I did like a short film this year and I've always like wanted to perform. Like when I was a kid,
yeah
I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I see myself on a stage and I see myself performing, whether that's like music, acting, fighting, being an athlete. Like I just like I want to express myself creatively. I want to compete, and I think I found like the perfect thing for me because I'm able to be competitive. I'm able to be creative in the way that I break guys down.
yeah
It's like my hands are like my paintbrushes.
yeah
And I think like as a man, like you kind of want to do like what the most challenging thing is. And I was like, what's like the hardest thing that you can do?
yeah
And like I think becoming a world champion was like one of the hardest things I could ever imagine. It's like I think to do anything at like the highest level is like very hard.
hmm
Like becoming a billionaire and like running a huge global company, I think is like incredibly difficult in its own way, like mentally and stuff. Um, but I think like I was literally just thinking like, what is the hardest thing, like mentally, physically, psychologically? And I was like, man, if I could be a freaking world champion, like champion of the world in boxing and
yeah
combat sports, like this is like, there's no teammates, there's no timeouts. It is you. It is only you. It is a one-on-one sport. You have nobody to blame but yourself. And I was like, I want to be that because if I could be that, then like that's something I could really be proud of.
yeah.
So
That's,
yeah, and then the journey started, and for the longest time, like I was kind of just like navigating it on my own, like no manager, like just kind of like setting up fights myself, like no promoter, like in between trainers and stuff. And like, but I think where there's a will, there's a way. And I think that is kind of like my message to people that are going to follow me in the future that are listening is like, you don't have to, like, like everyone's path is different.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to have 100 amateur fights, be like a 10-time national champ, like get signed from like the amateurs. And
Because you didn't have a big amateur career, right?
no, I had like maybe like 40 amateur fights.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot still, but
Yeah. But I didn't have my first amateur fight until I came out here to attend UCLA. So my first amateur fight was like 2 months after I started college.
How old were you?
18. I just turned 18.
Got it. That's
So,
that's
yeah,
considered a late start.
yeah, that's a late start because I always wanted to compete. When I started training, I was like 13 in Vegas, and then like kids that grew up in Vegas, their goal is like, I want to get to Cali, I want to get out of Nevada and like go to like California. And so I got into UCLA just based off of like an academic scholarship. I got good grades. And the first thing I looked up was like, well, let me see if they have a boxing club team, because it's like, I always wanted to fight. I always wanted to compete. But like, my parents worked. They weren't able to take me to like tournaments on the weekends and stuff. And my first trainer was also like a budding pro boxer.
Yeah.
So like he had his own thing that he was focusing on too.
Yeah.
And so first thing I looked up was like, do they have a club boxing team? And they did. And I like immediately went over there. I was like, I want to fight. I want to compete.
Yeah.
And I spar some of their guys. They're like, okay, you got it, And 2 months later, I was fighting versus USC main event at like the LA Athletic Club in downtown. And so like that's how I got my start. 3-4 years later, after I graduate, I turned pro. Had like a short amateur career, but I had enough experience between like Vegas and LA to be around enough pros and different styles to where I was like, okay, like, I could do this. And was learning on the job. I'm still learning on the job. Now I'm at 21 fights, about to have my 22nd pro fight. But yeah, man, I think where there's a will, there's a way. You can always, it's like energy, right? It's like these things will find you. They will come to you. They will, it's like whatever is meant for you will find you, And I think like, I look at my life now and I'm like, this is probably like the first time like this year, like I didn't even have a manager like Wally was helping out until like my last fight.
Just recently, I remember.
And so now I look at like, okay, I got the team. I have like one of the best trainers in the world. I have one of the best managers in the world. Like now I'm like, okay, I feel confident. Within the next like 12 months, like, I think this is going to be like my arrival. And so 2024 was great. Started the year off, won a title, WBA Continental. Then a couple months later, I knock out Devin Alexander in 2 rounds.
I forgot to bring that up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
3-time 2-division world champ. And then had another fight in August. Stopped the guy in 3 rounds. And, now this is going to be my last fight of the year in 2 weeks. And I think next year is going to be, like, real big.
It's going to be the moment,
I'm excited, man. Yeah, thank you.
Could you end for the young fighters listening by just saying, because I've never seen you out of shape. You're always in the gym where you have these fights, and right away you're back in here running on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Have you always been locked in like that, or did you have a moment where you saw someone else and being like, oh, that's what it takes to be at the top? Have you always been like that? Or did you have a moment? And what's your message to fighters that may not be there, that want to get there, like think they're dedicated but don't realize what it takes? I mean, you're on your diet, running, strength training, conditioning, sparring, the right type of rest, like no processed foods, like farmers markets. Like
Yeah, man. I think consistency is like super important with anything you do. It's like you can't expect to be at a high level. You can't expect to have success with anything if you're not consistent. It's like with social media, it's like if you only post a couple times and then like you stop posting, your social media is not going to grow. Or if your goal is fitness and you're not consistent. So I think with me, just making up for lost time, it's like I have to stay in the gym like 24/7. I have to work. I have to spar as much as I can. I mean, the past few weeks, like there's maybe only been a couple days like where I don't spar, and like Wally's like that. We're like we'll literally spar like 5 days out of the week. Like Monday through Friday. Like I think there was probably 2 or 3 weeks straight where I sparred. Like I'm not kidding. Like I literally sparred every day Monday through Friday.
5 days a week?
5 days a week.
Bro.
Like Monday I'm sparring Sendy, Tuesday I'm sparring Gabe Rosado, Wednesday I'm sparring Sergey Lipinets. Like, I'm serious, man.
You just get used to it, or do you go to
Yeah.
bed like get up in the morning like here we go again? Because those are all
Sometimes,
like
yeah.
those are all people would pay to see all of those fights.
Yeah. I think that's another blessing of like being like training that way is because like, dude, you have to be locked in. Like you have to be on your shit.
Oh, you have no choice because you're gonna have to deal with these dudes.
You
every
have
day.
no choice because it's like if I know I'm only sparring Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? Okay, I had a good sparring day Monday. I can like mess around because I know tomorrow like I'm not sparring.
Yeah.
I have until Wednesday to like get my shit together again,
Yeah.
But it's like yesterday, man, I pull up to the gym like I don't know I'm doing 16 rounds, It's like if I'm not getting the proper rest, the proper diet, nutrition, like I'm gonna go into the gym like feeling like shit, and then
you gotta deal with 16
rounds I'm getting beat up. It's like so. Yeah, man, that just keeps me on edge, keeps me locked in, because like I know on any given day that I walk into that gym, like it could be 10 rounds I'm sparring with 2 different world champions. It could be 16 rounds, like it could be whatever, So I think
that sounds stressful.
Having that level of like edge is like it keeps me in that zone, and like I'm unable, and it's not for everyone, and like people hear that sparring every day, and it's like I know everyone has their different opinions and critiques on it.
Yep.
It's also not like not every day is like crazy hard sparring, and I wouldn't be able to spar every day if I was like taking shots and like getting hit a lot.
Yeah.
It's like you can see me on camera now. Like I did 16 rounds yesterday with like, it's like I do this regularly, so it's like it like the sparring schedule always goes based off of like how you're doing in the sparring, right? So it's like if I get hit a lot one day, then it's like okay, tomorrow like we're not gonna, But it's like if every day I'm sparring, like my defense is sharp, my timing is sharp, like I'm in good shape, like I'm able to go 16 rounds and take a minimal amount of damage, like let's do it again a day, So yeah, man, I think that's why I've been able to make like such big leaps in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because of that consistency, because of that like constant effort, and yeah, just stay focused, to like all the young fighters. You have to decide like what you want, and if you want to be an athlete, if you want to be a fighter, there's only like a short window of time to where you can really like maximize, where you can be a fighter, It's not like having a career in like something else where
you can do it when you're 70.
You could do it when you're 70, So it's like if your body is going to be your tool, your vessel, your career for 15 years, like those 15 years, like you got to be locked in, And it's like I don't even have the luxury of like, I'm not Floyd where I get to fight like once or twice a year, and I can be on vacation like 8 months out of the year. It's like I have to be in the gym, because if I get a call that like, hey, we got you a fight in 3 weeks, it's a good opportunity, can you take it? Like hell yeah, I have to jump on that.
You gotta be ready.
I can't be like, no, I need like an 8-week camp. It's like I don't have that luxury, so it's like I'm hungry, man. I'm working, and
Always that weight. I mean, close to weight.
yeah, always that way. You know, hopefully after I make a few million, then I can like decide when my next date is. You know,
Walk
like
around at 170 a
yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
bit. Well, look,
So,
man.
but yeah, man.
Well, thank you for coming on, man. It's been an extra
Of
time
course.
to really dig into some of these topics, man. Good luck with the fight. I'm pretty 100, like I'm 99% sure I'll be there.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing what next year holds, man.
Thank you, man. I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.